Hello, my name is Deirdre McKenna, and Lisa and I have been talking more recently about grief and how the experience of grief is different for different people. How it manifests for people is different for different people. And as we talked, we thought this might be useful to include on Lisa's website. And to share, in a sense, a personal reflection of mine on a recent bereavement. It's something I wrote after my mother died in June this year, 2022. And as I say, grief, we experience it differently for many different reasons. Our relationship to the person who has died, our personality, the circumstances of the dying, expected or unexpected. The age of the person who has died maybe can affect grief. The time of year can affect. So many different factors can impact on how any of us experience grief. So sharing this in a spirit of generosity, I suppose, not to say that there's a right way to grieve, but to say this is my experience of it, and maybe some of it will resonate with you. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. And if it doesn't, maybe take this as an invitation to take some time with how you have experienced loss in your life, of how grief has impacted on you, and to take some time for yourself just to reflect on that, and then to think about some of the people who were there for you to support you, even as your heart was breaking. So, as I say, I'm just going to share a reflection that I wrote, and that Lisa was kind enough to permit me to share on this channel. So, I just need to open up my phone again to find it. So, my reflection is called Capsized: A Journey into Grief. Capsized. The word itself is an awkward one. It forces itself out of your mouth with a variety of oral contortions. There's a deliberate quality to it in that sense. There's no soft, soothing, soulful sense in its utterance. And its origin too is uncertain, likely from a Spanish root, which states simply a stark, unceremonious sink by the head, almost like a command. I've only been capsized in the literal sense once. I was in a canoe on an outdoor activities-based adventure with a group of young people. It was in Fermanagh, and as part of the preliminary safety check, we, each in our turn, had to capsize. Imagine those two words together: safety and capsize. But there they sat, uneasy, necessary bedfellows. So, in our turn, over we went, head over heels, heels over head, and I so wishing it was over. Deep breath, but not quite deep enough. Struggling to remember what the instructor said. Grip, wriggle, bob, swing. I wanted out and up. I can't remember how I did wreck myself, other than that I managed to, and that it involved much coughing and spluttering and forced smiles. I remember too how the rest of the actual canoeing went, how the absolute pleasure of gliding along, buoyed up and moving with the rhythmic strokes of the paddle, felt tainted now, edgy somehow, that I could become undone again, sunk by the head. My mum, constant, shore-like, my reference point as I sat off or travelled homeward. A mixed terrain for sure of sand and shield, but familiar, steady, welcoming, there. And then she wasn't. Sunk by the head by her death, and flailing these weeks and months since. Tight-mouthed, panicked, desperate. No clear sight of shore from here. Writing myself at times, I gasped for breath again and tried to still the pounding heart. I paddle onwards, lost, more unsteady now, fearing always the next upend. They say prevent capsized, do not overload, balance the load, turn at controlled speeds, and if anchoring, secure the anchor at the bow, never the stern. Such sensible advice. A cool, clear mind wrote that. But sunk by the head leaves no space for clear, cool, sensible. My paddling now is less confident. My trust in what I know, unsure. What once felt certain, rooted, stable, feels shifted now and shifting. Nervously, I hear myself say, "Don't rock the boat," aloud, so that you might hear. But it's to myself I caution also. I want to send it flare up. I do. I want to be rescued. Or if not entirely rescued, I want companion boats nearby. Strong, steady, lifeboat-laden vessels ready to respond. It's hard, though, that hold tight instead to the paddle until I get a hold that I need, where no sure grasp is reachable, any grip will do. And what shore now for me? What reference point? What view? I paddle on, uncertain. And this I learn. Take the deeper breath always. Fill my lungs with that which will sustain. Gaze long and slow when the light is with me. Hold in fertile memory when each upend occurs, that former shore I stood on, and which somehow holds me still. So that is my reflection at this stage of grief, of my grieving. It may not be the same for you, and that's okay. It's my experience, and I share it now from my heart to yours.